Yo, what is up guys? Delboy here, aka Blue Collar Sports TV. Hopefully you guys are doing well. If you're new here, smash that like, hit subscribe, all of that good stuff. So, Terence Crawford dominates, decimates, butchers, eviscerates Errol Spence Jr. and stops him in 9 rounds, in which was a very one-sided fight. I have to say, my intuition surrounding Errol Spence, I think, is correct. Now, going into this fight, I actually never made like an in-depth prediction video like I usually do, where I talk about what both guys can do to win, etc. But I made a preview video / prediction video where I said in it, I just had this gut instinct that Errol Spence Jr. wasn't going to react well to Terence Crawford's punches. And, you know, that was due to a multitude of reasons. First and foremost, the car crash, of course, the detached retina, inactivity, potential problems with alcohol outside the ring. I just had the gut instinct that this would be the fight where all of Errol Spence Jr.'s extracurricular activities would come to haunt him, and I think that's what happened, to be honest, in regards to his performance and how he was able, or not able, to take punches. Have to say though, I didn't expect the punch resistance to be that bad. I felt that maybe it would start to show in the second half of the fight. I picked Crawford, I think, from rounds 9 to 11 by stoppage. Again, just based on gut instinct, really. I never broke this one down like I usually would. But anyway, in the first round, it kind of started how I expected. Both guys having a look at each other, with Errol Spence Jr. being more active with his jab. He also landed a couple of good left hands to the body. Crawford didn't land too much in round 1. Again, a couple of jabs. I actually gave round 1 to Errol Spence Jr. But regardless, although I gave Errol Spence that round, while I was watching live, I said on Twitter that Errol Spence is already making a pivotal mistake where he's reaching in with his jab. And against a guy like Terence Crawford, that could be capitalized on. And literally, in the second round, exactly that happens. Once again, Errol Spence gets caught slipping. He kind of lunges in and reaches in with a body jab. And Terence Crawford, he countered it over the top with a really hard right jab. By the way, Terence Crawford was fighting this fight in a southpaw stance. But he countered Spence's jab with his own jab. And it was a shotgun jab, which actually dropped Errol Spence. Errol Spence does get up, however, and he beats the count relatively quickly, but to me, at least, after the second round, the writing was on the wall. And the fact that, you know, like I say, Spence was getting rocked with jabs throughout this fight. And that's what really tells me Spence's punch resistance isn't what it once was, because it happened on numerous occasions. Again, he got dropped 3 times in this fight, and he was hurt on a multitude of other occasions as well. After the second round, going into the third, Spence tried to actually up the pace in the third round. You know, he tried to get aggressive, and he landed some body shots in the third round. Actually landed a few shots, but, you know, Crawford was taking advantage of Spence's aggression. He was landing the, like I say, the counter jab, the check right hook, sweeping left hand, and he would step out and exit to the side to make Errol Spence Jr. reset himself, and that made Spence throughout this fight constantly reach in to try and get Crawford. And of course Crawford took advantage of that by landing some lightning counters. By the way, can I say, Terence Crawford's jab in this fight was the best I've ever seen it. And yeah, we know Crawford has a good jab and a good lead hand, but I've not seen him commit to the jab as much as he did against Spence in any other fight. And again, that jab was so impressive to me. And yeah, after the third round, it was target practice for Terence Crawford. absolute target practice. And also by this point in time, after the third round, to me at least, it looked like Spence was really pushing with his punches. Not pushing, but he was just forcing his work way too much, and it looked like his shots didn't have the same power that they used to have. I think there was a moment in the 4th or 5th round where Spence landed like an overhand left, bang on the chin. It looked like a good shot on paper, but it just did nothing to Crawford. And yeah, Crawford really had his way with Errol Spence after the 3rd round. Also, one thing the commentary team didn't pick up on, in the exchanges, sometimes obviously Crawford was winning the exchanges, and sometimes he was doing a good job of going down to the body, throwing uppercuts to the body, short hooks to the body. And again, I felt there was a couple of occasions where Spence was hurt to the body as well. Honestly, I felt Crawford, looking back on it, could have taken Spence out a few rounds earlier than he actually did. You know, he was making sure not to give Spence anything to get back into the fight while he was beating Spence up. And in round 7, Crawford drops Spence twice. The second knockdown of the fight and the first knockdown of the 7th round was a really good shot by Crawford. Again, Spence was desperate. He was lunging in. He was reaching in. He tries to apply a bit of pressure. Crawford backs up to the ropes in that southpaw stance. Spence really shoots a wild looping overhand left. As he throws the shot, Terence Crawford gets there first with a beautiful short right uppercut. Spence's shot actually landed, but it did nothing to Crawford. But Crawford's counter right uppercut drops Spence. Really good shot by Crawford, and it just highlighted how sharp he was in this fight. He was receptive to everything. He was just on it, you know. He then follows up by dropping Spence again in the 7th round. He hurt Spence with a right hand and followed up with another southpaw right hook to the side of the head. It sends Errol Spence to the canvas. And I was saying on Twitter at this point in time, in the fight, I felt Derek James should have really considered throwing in the towel. Spence had been down 3 times, hurt multiple times. His face was swelling and bloody. He was a mess, honestly, and after that 7th round, he could have very easily thrown in the towel, and perhaps he should have, to be honest with you. Fight was finally ended in round 9. Towards the end of the 9th round, Terence Crawford initiated an attack. He tried to catch Errol Spence Jr. with 2 looping left hands. Spence tried to evade those shots by ducking, though he was still caught by them. And on his way back up, Crawford then catches him with a right hook. And again, that right hook for Terence Crawford throughout this fight was money. But yeah, the right hook buzzes Errol Spence. Crawford then follows up, lands another right hand, and the referee Harvey Dock jumps in and stops it. No complaints about the stoppage. Again, I personally felt Derek James perhaps should have stopped this fight after round 7 maybe. But yeah, this was a virtuoso type of performance by Terence Crawford. Quick, razor sharp, moved well, showed good power, good reactions. He was just tuned in. This was his moment, and he separated himself from most fighters in boxing, I would say. That was a pound-for-pound level performance by Terence Crawford. You know, I mean, it reminded me of fights like, I don't know, Mayweather-Gatti, for example. Just so one-sided. And yeah, if anybody has Terence Crawford #1 pound-for-pound after that performance, I'm not going to call you crazy, because that performance was something else. And obviously, in winning this fight, Terence Crawford is now undisputed champion at welterweight, meaning he is a 2-weight undisputed champion, of course being undisputed at 140 previously, and also a lightweight champion as well. So 3-weight class champion, 2-weight class undisputed. Things are looking pretty good for Terence Crawford. In regards to where he goes from here, Errol Spence was saying he wanted a rematch. No need. We saw what we needed to see in this fight. it was more one-sided than an amputee's dance routine, to be real with you. So yeah, no rematch. If Terence Crawford sticks around at 147, the only fight that interests me is the fight with Jaron Ennis. I think that'll be an interesting fight. The young upstart versus the experienced, undisputed champion in Crawford. That'll be a decent fight. Aside from Ennis, I don't think there's much out there for Terence Crawford, to be honest with you. Maybe he goes to 154, who knows. As for Errol Spence, he obviously needs to go to 154 and also take some time out of the ring, because that was a beating. I know he's been inactive, but that was a beating. And quite frankly, what I saw from him, I think we've already seen the best of Errol Spence Jr. and it's only going to go downhill from here. But yeah, he needs to come back, if he does, at 154. Anyway, share your thoughts below. What did you make of this fight? Beanie Guy Delboy. Peace.